Okay, something just went wonky here.
Hello YouTube, Captain Matt's son here. Welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot.
Now I will have you all know that I had to make him do that like 10 times because he didn't want to do it. He was scared or embarrassed or something, but if y'all could give him a thumbs up and a clap of the hands or something, I'm sure he'd really appreciate it. He was trying to get his own YouTube channel going for a little while, and he just wasn't getting any traction on it, so maybe he'll start trying again, but he needs to stop being such a chicken. He's over here shaking his head at me right now. Anyway, just like my son said, welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot. I actually just finished uploading the other video a little while ago, and as I had expected, I got a great response on it, and I really appreciate all the support you guys are showing for my channel. Especially, it's been, I looked actually, it was almost it's been a year and a month basically since I uploaded a video, so you know, you guys just kind of jumped right back in there, and you're giving some great comments and great feedback, and I really appreciate that. Now, I did ask in both the video and in the comment section if anybody had any suggestions about where we should fly to next, and somebody did finally chime in there, and they said fly up to Chicago. So guess where we're going? That's right, we're going to Chicago. So what do you say we hop into the office here and get this party started? Alrighty, here we are on the flight deck. Our flight was delayed. We were supposed to depart last night, but we weren't able to. We had some, let's call them technical difficulties. Actually, my son wanted to watch a movie, so we watched that. So you will see that the time is actually different than when we first did the introduction to this flight. That's okay, not a problem. What we want to do now is we want to take a look at our operational flight plan. Now, during the last flight, for whatever reason, I just completely spaced on Sim Toolkit Pro, and that's this guy. Now, if you haven't used Sim Toolkit Pro, or you're not familiar with Sim Toolkit Pro, take a look at the card that I'm going to try to remember to put up here, and that should take you to my full tutorial. Now, I want to be clear up front, that full tutorial is on an older version of Sim Toolkit Pro, quite a bit older version as a matter of fact, and they've updated it substantially. However, after looking at all of the new features and so on, I'm pretty sure you can figure out how to use it from the old tutorial using the new version. That's for now. Now, it is my hope to do a new full tutorial on this in the not too distant future, but I don't want to make any promises on that quite yet. They are going to continue to update it. As you can see, it's version 0.8.14, so they still have ways to go before they even reach version 1. Now, with that said, if you aren't familiar with this program at all, it is free. Sim Toolkit Pro is free. Just go on to Google and type in Sim Toolkit Pro and then download it and install it, and there you go, you have it. It's completely free. It's always been free. As far as I know, it's always going to be free, and it is a fantastic program. You can link it with SimBrief. That's where we get our flight plan from. You can link it with Navigraph. That's where we get our charts from in here. You can link SkyVector, all kinds of things. I'm not going to go through all of that right now because that's more a tutorial type information, and the tutorial that I have done on this does have all that information. Again, it's changed a little bit as far as how to link all that stuff, and then there's lots of different features, and the user interface is different and so on, but ultimately it still is the same program, and therefore I think that old tutorial will suffice for now, and then look for a updated tutorial to come out in the not too distant future. Alright, enough about that. Let's take a look at our flight plan. Now, we do have the operational flight plan, the same thing that we get from SimBrief. It's what I briefed on the last flight. And we got all the same information on here. Real quick, just air distance 515 nautical miles. We want to make sure it is from Nashville up to Chicago. That's our plan for today. And our block fuel, which we're going to try and get relatively close. You guys know me well enough by now. I like to add more fuel, and it's just this thing I have. I like to add more fuel. I just don't trust it. So we're going to go with 10,000, but That's in the vicinity, we'll say, of the block fuel that it's asking for here. And then you've got your route a little bit further down and so on. Now, instead of going through the operational flight plan here, I'm actually going to use this function over here, which lays out our plan. So here you go. You've got KBNA, that's Nashville Airport, International, I think it's International Airport. And that's our departure, runway 20 Charlie. We're probably not going to use 20 Charlie, and I'll show you why here real quick. If we just look at the airfield, you can see this is where we're at right here. 20 Charlie's way over here. Why would I want to cross the runway and go through all this craziness if I can use this over here? Now, to be fair, we got to check the wind still too, because the wind's going to be different than when I originally planned this flight. And we can do that right here by clicking on weather details. You've got, of course, your I forget what they call this type, but it's the text variant, obviously. If you don't know how to read those, it's not super hard. It just takes some practice. So there's the airport. It's on the 9th, which is today at 11:53 Zulu. Wind is 340 at 6 knots. So let's 34. That's actually the opposite direction. 340. So 360 being up here. This is the magnetic variation, right? But 360 being up here, so 340 is going to be right in here somewhere. So we're probably going to be taking runway 31 instead. So I'll take a look at that and we'll get that hashed out. But either way, and then you've got 10 statute miles visibility, a few clouds at 1,500 feet, a few clouds at 11,000 feet, and then scattered clouds at 25,000 feet. The temperature is 21, the dew point is 16, and the altimeter is 3000. And then remarks have to do with the reporting station and stuff like that. And all of that is also laid out here if you're not used to reading this. So temperature is 21, dew point 16. Here's the wind, 340 at 6. Here's the visibility in meters, kilometers, nautical miles, and feet. That's pretty fantastic. Your altimeter. So it says 30 inches HG because it's just 3000. And then you've got it in hectopascals too. You got the clouds. All of that information for your weather is right here. So that's handy dandy for you. And then you've also got the actual flight plan is laid out here as well. So here's our departure. And if we go back to this, this gives us the departure information, airport elevation, all of that. And then here's our next waypoint. Sarah, Krista, Olsey, I guess that's IIU, Heaven, Bont, Nyland, and so on, right? And you can scroll down all the way down to KORD, and you can get the same information there. Weather details, for example, in Chicago right now, temperature is 13, dew point's 11, wind is 240 at 6, visibility is 9 nautical miles, 299.7 is the altimeter, etc. So all of that is right here laid out for you, nice and easy to find. That's your flight plan, weather details. Had an itchy ear, sorry about that. You can also pull up radio frequencies. So here's all the radio frequencies for, excuse me, Nashville up here, and then if I go down here to the bottom, I can click on this one and I can get the radio frequencies for Chicago. Again, Sim Toolkit Pro, great program. Also makes our flight briefing substantially easier. That's pretty much the gist of our flight briefing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop away here real quick. I'm going to determine what our runway and departure is going to be, and then that way we'll be able to brief the proper departure and all that stuff. But I'll see you back here in a second on the flight deck, and we'll go through our cockpit acceptance and get rolling with the program here. Alright, back on the flight deck here, we're going to dive in and roll through this relatively quick. Now I did want to ask, I didn't ask this in the last video, did you guys like how I used to put the checklists up on the videos? Because I didn't do it in the last one. It is some extra work, so I thought, well, if we don't necessarily need to do it, but if you guys really like seeing those, let me know and I can put those up there for you. So let's dive right in here, taking a look. Again, this is our quick reference checklist for the PMDG 737. I got this from the original way back in FSX. It's probably the same one you can get with this here. But flight plan's already been obtained, filed, and briefed. Passengers and cargo. We're gonna dive in. Dive in's gonna be my word today, right? We said we're gonna go with 10,000 pounds of fuel. So we're gonna use the ground services to do this because I'm gonna show you guys how this works. So we want 10,000 pounds. That's our target. So we're gonna put 10,000. Okay. We're gonna request the fuel truck. And then when he gets here, this is going to say unfueling or unload fuel or something like that. So they're going to take out fuel until we reach 10,000 pounds. As far as passengers and cargo, we're going to leave that as is. I'm not too worried about it. This would be deplaning packs. For whatever reason, it always loads with 148 packs for me. I could probably save a configuration where it's at 0, but I'm not too worried about it. And I'm going to leave the cargo the way it is as well. I'm not too worried about it. It takes a little while to take care of anyway, so I'm just going to leave it as is, and I'm just kind of waiting on that fuel truck now. So fuel is going to be calculated in order. We're going to do 10,000 pounds. We've already gone over the weather, at least the weather locally. It is a little different than it was yesterday when we initially jumped into the sim. Again, the flight got delayed until this morning, so it is what it is. NOTAMs are good. Charts are ready for use. We've got those again on our Sim Toolkit Pro with Navigraph, and so when we brief those, you'll be seeing those as well. Exterior inspection is complete. We're waiting on fuel still. That's next thing on the checklist again is fuel loaded and verified. Doors and stairs ready for boarding. Those are already taken care of. Now you can see here it's saying release, but it's not letting me actually do that. Why is that? Interesting. Maybe it just doesn't let you unload fuel. Let me try something here real quick, just for the fun of it. Let's return real quick. Let's go fuel here. I'm going to put this at 5,000. So that's automatically going to set our fuel. So that's what's in the tanks now, 5,000. You see that there right here, 25, 25. So camera's all wonky. Now let's see if it lets me load it up to 10,000. Yeah, there we go. So I guess it won't offload fuel for you. It will only load fuel. So there you go. So we'll have them start putting fuel in there, and you can see it's going up already. So fantastic. That's getting loaded. Parking brake is not set yet. Let's jump back here real quick. Set that guy. There we go. The battery's obviously on. Power's on the aircraft. Oh, don't do that to me. Special shout out to his name like literally just escaped my mind. I'll get back to it here in a second. Somebody told me how to take care of this. I'm actually going to just look it up right now. Where's he at? Where's he at? There he is. Pretty sure it's him, right? Nope. There we go. Yeah, Dog Tag Gamer. That's who I thought it was, but for some reason I couldn't remember. So my buddy Dog Tag Gamer, we've actually met in person when I was still living out in Phoenix. He dropped in the comments on the last video how to get rid of those really annoying pop-ups, which I couldn't figure out for whatever reason. So special shout out to my man Dog Tag Gamer. Thank you for showing me how to get that figured out. I really appreciate it. It's already been a huge help. So alright, jumping back up, let's see, electric hydraulic pumps need to be off. That's these two here. And we can just kind of go down this thing. Yaw damper can be on, that's fine. Fuel pumps are all off at the moment. Those are good. All these lights are off. Wipers obviously off. The gens, we're on ground power right now, so all the gens are good there. Standby power is on, and the cover is closed. Same thing with the battery. It's on, cover is closed. Coming down here, we don't need the backlighting at all. Equipment cooling, all that stuff is fine. It's on normal right now. Emergency exit lights are armed and the thing is closed. All the signs are on. Click the attendant button. Wipers are off. These guys are both in the off position, and the ignition switch is in the center. Altitude's not doing anything right now until we adjust this, which we will. We did the electric hydraulic pumps. Probe heat is off. Window heat is off. Supply duct is good there. Recirc fan is on auto. Packs are both on auto right now. We're not getting any bleed, but we can actually turn the engine bleeds off. I like to leave the ISO valve on auto. You close it when you do shutdown, but I just leave it on auto. Landing gear is down and the lever agrees with it. Overhead valve light illuminated. Ground power is on. Fire warning systems tested. So this is where we get to start doing some stuff. If you remember to click this guy, now it'll go back on its own. So we're just making sure that these things light up. Wait till it goes back. This is the one that makes the noise. We want to make sure we get the bells and everything lights up the way it's supposed to. There we go. Same thing over here. Just make sure these three lights light up. There we go. And one more time over here. There we go. Fantastic. The signs are both on. Recirc fan is on auto. Engine bleeds are off. Passenger boarding has already been commenced. And then we need to do the lights test. Now there's this lights test here, which is all of these, right? So we want to make sure all of those work, and that's all the lights up here as well. That's what that lights test is. So I didn't do that one in the last video, so there we go, we did it that time. And then you can dim them too for when you have them turned on there. And the other test I didn't do last time was the TCAS test, so I'm going to do that one real quick, see if it works. I don't even know if it works. Yeah, it's working. You can tell already. We should get some audio warnings as well.
TCAS test pass.
Okay, we didn't get any of the audio warnings, but we did have all the visual warnings. There's also the ground proximity warning test, which is this guy down here. I don't know if maybe that one doesn't work, or maybe it's supposed to be this one. But anyway, it's pretty long, so I'm not going to do that. So we're not going to start the APU yet because I'm going to stay on the ground power for now. And so that's going to take care of our cockpit acceptance, aircraft acceptance, and our flight planning and dispatch. Alright, so we've already taken care of our overhead setup. We kind of did that with our cockpit acceptance. We went through everything that was on there. The next thing we need to do is the FMC initialization. Now what's fantastic again when we receive the aircraft in this condition is the IRS is already aligned, so we don't need to worry about taking care of IRS alignments. We can jump right down here and let's see. Yep, you can see too now that our fueling is complete, we can release the fuel truck. We're at 10,000 pounds of fuel, so that takes care of that. And then let's jump in here to the FMC, take care of position initialization. Again, you can put in the reference airport and the gate, but we tried that on the last one. It didn't work so well. And then you've got your positions. This is all, you guys should be familiar with this. I did link the PMDG 737 full flight tutorial in my last video. That was for P3D. Keep in mind, it's still a 737. It's still PMDG's version of the 737, so it's basically identical. There's not really any significant differences between that one and this one. So you can watch that tutorial from the P3D version and fly this aircraft in the Flight Sim 20 version without any problem. So let's take a look at our route here. We're going to request a route. It's KBNA to KORD. That's the one we want right there. Select it. And then remember, this lights up. So this is a little different than how you pulled the company routes from the last from that tutorial. So, but again, it's an insignificant difference. It's handy, but insignificant in the grand scheme of things. If anybody does want me to show how to input a route on the FMC here in the sim, I'll gladly do that on one of our flights. It's not very difficult. Again, it's the same exact process. So this is just the easy way to do it. So we'll activate it, execute, and then I like to do my departure arrival right away, or my departure anyway. So we said it was the, here, let me check my Navigraph. It's the Krista 3 departure out to Ulce. So let's find Krista 3. That's going to be runway 31, and the transition is going to be all the way out at Ulce. Execute that, and then I like to look at the legs page. So we vectors. Remember, we're going to have to replace vector with Sarah once we want the LNAV to go onto it, or we have to use the heading mode. We might try that today just to show you a different way to do it if I remember. But there's no route discontinuity, so we're good there. Now we are scheduled for, let me just double check here, the week 5 arrival. My brain didn't want to work there for a second. Chicago is west of Nashville. I should have known that, but for whatever reason I couldn't wrap my brain around it. Let me pull up the chart here for Chicago real quick. You're going to see this in a little bit. I just want to take a quick look at it while I'm talking to you. So the week 5, and it looks like we're going to get onto that from Bont, which is this guy right here. So that's going to work out fantastic. Let's just make sure it doesn't require us to select a runway right now. So departure arrival, yeah, see, a lot of times it's set up like this, these arrivals, and this is probably the case for the week 5 as well, but let's just check. We got to go all the way down here to the V's. Yeah, see, week 5, and then it's based on the runway. So we need the weather in Chicago to at least have an idea of which runway we're going to be taking, right? So, bam, you like my little tongue thump there? Jump over here to our Sim Toolkit Pro, scroll down to Chicago, look at the weather, and what does it say? Mainly we're concerned about the wind. It says the wind is 240 at 6 knots. So typically the way I'll do this, I'll say, okay, it's 240 at 6 knots. So then I'll come in here and forget about this for a minute. I'm actually looking at my approaches, or you can just go to the taxi section there. You can pull up the airport info. I haven't been to Chicago in a while. That's a lot of runways. Woo! Okay, wind is 240. So it could be runway 27 right, 22 right, 27 center, 27 left, 22 left, 28 right, 28 center, or 28 left. I honestly, I had no idea Chicago had that many runways. I wonder if, because I have the default version, I wonder if the default version will have those runways all in there. That'll be interesting. I think for simplicity, we're going to go with 2.7 left, as long as VEEX5 will allow us 2.7 left, which I suspect it will, the way it's set up here. That's going to be right in here, so it'll probably be pink and then transition to the approach, right? So let's tack that guy on there, and then what are our options for 2.7 left? And again, we're going to brief all this. This is just me planning out the FMC real quick. I'm going to just select the ILS for now. There we go. And then again, those will all come up in the briefing. So that's what we're going to go with. So we're going to go with 2.7 left. So it's going to be a 2.7B is going to be a 2.7 base, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if I'm wrong about that, somebody please correct me, but I'm pretty sure it's 2.7 base. So I'm going to select that, and then we said we're going to go with the ILS 2.7 left approach. If I can find it. Didn't I pick ILS 2.7 left? ILS runway 2.7 left. Is this telling me I can't do that? Maybe I can't do that. Let's erase that real quick. VEEX5 2.7B to 8B. So why would 2.7B not be available for ILS 2.7 left? That's interesting. What if, and I won't take too much longer on this, I promise. So what if we did it this way? Let's say we want ILS 2.7 left, so let's start with that. It's not even showing ILS 2.7 left on here, is it? Well, that's a stinker and a half. Let's go with 2.8 right then. We can do that. So let's do ILS 2.8 right. And then it's going to be the VEEX5 2.8B. And so the transition on that, this is how I plan it out. So I can do all this off screen or on screen, doesn't matter. You guys let me know. If you don't like me doing it on here, I won't. But I just jump back over here and I go back to 2.8 right. There's the ILS. And so now when I look at the ILS 2.8 right, it looks like Mott or Bluto. I don't see where Vulgar is on here. Oh, there it is. It's out there. Okay, yeah. Well, let's go with that. We'll go with transition at Vulgar. And the VEEX5 is a transition at Bont, Vulgar, execute. Now we got to look at our legs for this, because I have a feeling that it's going to make a weird turn. And I apologize, this is taking a little longer than usual, but we'll get done here pretty quick, I promise. So let's zoom that out a little bit. And there's Boone, Cluso, Cato, Pink. So yeah, see, this out here is Vogler, I think. And if we zoom in here, you can see. So if we follow the arrival all the way in, this is our approach, this is our arrival. So that obviously isn't going to work, right? Let's step to Vulgar. See, it goes to Vectors and then Vulgar. So to me, going from whatever this is, R bone or B bone or whatever, straight to Vulgar seems to be the way to go. So the simplest way to do this is just select Vulgar right here, or Vogler. I keep saying Vulgar. Vogler. Just select it into the scratch pad, and then I'm looking for whatever comes before Hanny there. It's Boone. So I'm literally going to replace the next waypoint with Vogler. Watch this. See how that puts that dotted line in there? Right? So when I execute this, it's going to delete all of this, and it's going to make this a magenta line. And so our route's going to go Veek, Boone, Vogler, and then we're going to bang a left from there. And there's plenty of space there to make that turn, so I'm not worried about it. So execute. That's our new route. All right? That's what we're going to be going with there. So a little bit of extra work there. I do apologize, but we're good to go now, and I got a cough. Okay, so there we go. That's that. Let's go back to the route page, go performance initialization and request. Give that a few seconds, going to pull it up. And I think just to get us ahead a little, well, I can't yet. I was going to start doing the MCP setup, but that's not going to work right now. So let's move this over. And oh, I messed that up. That's supposed to stay there. See, this is where I have a problem with the cameras. Anyway, this is in here. Let's load this. Flight level 380, that's going to work for me. We've got lots of runway to work with, if I remember correctly. We're taking runway 31, which is 11,000 feet. So I think on N1 limit, let's do the double D rate there. Oh, it says using reserve fuel. Go back here. Reserves 5.5, we're at 10. Let's lower our reserves to 2. I'm good with that. Cost index 99. Forgot to do that. Now let's see what it says. So we're going to derate 2, climb 1. I'm going to do normal climb. And then takeoff, we're actually going to do flaps 5. Right? So you can see there's 7.07 on the trim, 128, 130, 135. And that's it. That takes care of the FMC setup. You can put this information in here, right? So I don't think we did this last time, but if I'm just jumping over here and looking at the weather, right? So, oh, come on, brain function today. Runway slope. Some charts will show it, some won't. I'm not going to look for it right now, and I'm not going to calculate it, but there is a way to calculate it. If you guys are really concerned about that, let me know. But we can do the wind in here really easy. It's 340 at 6 knots. So just 340/6. Why is that thing moving? Like randomly started moving. Okay. And it didn't even do. Okay, 3, 4. You know what it was? Is like for some reason the click spot overlapped or something. Anyway, 340 at 6 knots. Okay, there we go. Let's get that in there. It deletes the takeoff speeds because it's going to change them. The runway's dry, so we're good there. So I didn't need to go index. I need to go back to the takeoff page. We get it. They're pretty much the same speed, but there you go. Now it puts them back in there. Okay, that takes care of our FMC setup. This took much longer than I expected, so let's break away for just a second. We'll take care of setting up the MCP and get this bird going. Alright, we got a little bit more housekeeping to take care of here, and then we're going to be ready to get this bird in the air. Let's pull up this ATIS real quick. If you don't remember, the ATIS frequency is 135.1. Don't worry, I didn't remember either. So real quick, let's go that's nav radio. 135.1. Okay, 135.1. Let's listen to the ATIS real quick.
National Airport Information Sierra 1300 Zulu. Wind 344 at 10. Visibility 10. Sky condition. Few clouds at 1,800 feet, 6,500 feet scattered. Temperature 21. Dew point 10. Altimeter 30.00. ILS runway 31 in use. Landing and departing runway 31.
Alright, we get the gist of it. So you can see the wind is a little bit different than what we're getting from our weather on Sim Toolkit Pro. That happens all the time. Honestly, I have no idea why the weather is always different, but even when I was using Active Sky, and Active Sky was running on Sim Toolkit Pro and running in the sim, the weather would be different. So let's put this to 3000. There we go. This is going to go up to 38,000. Now remember, we talked about this last time. I may mention it every time, or I may stop mentioning it. There's a couple ways of doing this. We could set our first maximum altitude, or our first altitude restriction according to the departure. Or we can just set it all the way up there. Normally, of course, you'd be flying with ATC and they'd be giving you your altitudes. But we're not using ATC, and I don't want to set, I don't want to keep setting the altitude over and over, especially when I'm doing a video, because I want to make sure that I'm not missing something I need to be doing for the video. So I'm just going to set it to 380. We're going to let the VNAV take care of business like it's supposed to. It takes forever to scroll this thing. There we go, 380. Let's see, 135 is our V2, so we're going to do plus 10, so 145 on this. There we go, flight director's on. If I can click it, this click spots are really small. Auto throttle will leave off for the moment. And what else we need to do? Let's jump up to the overhead here. I want to get the APU started now, because when I come back on, we're going to be ready to push and start with power coming on there. Put this up to 380. And what's the altitude at Chicago? altitude is 680 feet. So if you didn't know, Chicago's 680 feet. So we're just going to set this to 700. I think that'll be fine. So 700 feet there. The MCP is set up. That's the mode control panel up here in case you didn't know what that stood for. FMC is ready to rock and roll. We're good with everything. I'm going to break away for just a second. We're going to come back on. The APU is going to be running, and we're going to push and start. Alrighty, we got the APU up and running. We'll jump up top here really quick. So what we want to do is transfer power over to the APU. Let's turn the bleed on first. That's going to keep our packs running. You'll hear a brief pause. Not sure why it does that, or if it does that in real life. Maybe it does. I never noticed before. So now we're on the APU power. We're not on ground power, so we can turn that off. Down here, go to your menu, FS Actions, Ground Services, and somebody told me in one of the comments if you just remove chocks, it removes anything that's connected to the aircraft, which makes sense. I don't think it removes the jetway, but it might. Let's find out. So chocks removed. That reminds me, somebody also said something about a pushback program. Somebody mentioned a pushback program. I forget what it's called. Toolbar pushback or something like that. I've never heard of it. I'd have to look for the comment again. And hold on, my brain didn't want to do two things at once. So we need our nose to go to the right. Turn nose right, 90 degrees works for me. Start.
Cockpit to ground.
Anyway, so I'm not familiar with the program. I don't know if it's freeware, payware, or what. But it's apparently really good, so it's something I'll look into. Let's jump up here. Packs need to come off.
Ready to push, tail to the left. Parking brakes off.
Parking brakes need to come off. A lot of jumping around. Oh, they were off.
Brakes released.
Okay. I could have sworn I had them on. Okay. I think we used ignition left last time. Pretty sure we did, but maybe I'm wrong. I'd have to go back and look at the video. Make sure your packs are off.
Here we go.
And then we're gonna put our fuel pumps on. And everything else good to go. Put this on ground. Jump down here. And again, we're looking for 25 on the N2. So at this point, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not gonna say anything else. I'm just gonna fast forward this, but we all know I'm probably gonna say something else, or we're gonna sit here in silence for a couple minutes. Here's the 25. Couldn't sit here in silence that long. That'd be obnoxious, right? Engine's starting to spool up. I will say the pushback is not that bad for the PMDG. Hopefully it does not put us in the grass, though. I don't like the fact that I can't be more precise with, excuse me, hiccup there, that I can't be more precise with the distances, right? So like I want it to be right on that taxi line. It didn't put us in the grass, but it was close. I don't care for that. Okay, there's engine one. The starter switch just clicked off. Let it settle for just a second. Electric hydraulic pumps on.
Pushback complete.
On. There's no fuel in the center, is there? Switch that to ground. Set the parking brake for those guys.
Brake set.
And we're looking for 25 again.
Alright, steering pin is disconnected. Watch for the slip release from guidance on your left. Have a good flight.
Have a good flight yourself, sir. Oh wait, he's not flying anywhere. Okay, engine one's going to spool up. I'll be back here in just a second. We'll take care of our before taxi checklist. Alright, we got both the engines started. Looking at the after start checklist, the engine generators are both on. These are these guys right up here. Engine gens are both on. Probe heat is on and tested. Anti-ice we don't need right now. Engine bleeds are both off. We need those on. That one off. There we go. Packs are on auto. That's these two, which they are. Isolation valves on auto. That's the guy in the middle, which it is. You don't want to forget the packs, otherwise your altitude, your cabin pressure is not going to work properly, and then when you get above about 18 to 20,000 feet, you're going to get a cabin altitude warning. APU bleed is off, APU switch is off, external lights are as required, including the taxi light, which is on, master caution light is off, and I'm pretty sure recall is just pushing this guy here. Somebody I asked in the last one. Let me know if I'm wrong. We got a couple more things that we need to do. We need to get the flaps set. We said we're going to do flaps 5. So there's flaps 1. There's flaps 2 and flaps 5. We didn't set our trim yet. 707, right? So scroll this up. We're going to have to guess. Does it show up on here? Hopefully it does, because I turned the tooltips off. Oh, I guess that's all we get on system. We don't get flight controls. I'll have to do those at some point. Okay, so we're just going to guess, right? So there's 5, 6, 7. It's got to be right in there, right? 8, 9, 10. Yep, I think we're probably good there. So there we go, 7.07 or thereabouts. Brakes, we're not going to do a brake check. Taxi speed, less than 20. That's not going to happen. This is Southwest, guys. Alright, let's jump this up over here. You are going to, it looks like our altimeter's changed. Yes, 3002 now. Of course, we're out of line a little bit. Track IR coming on a little jump once I get settled here. There we go. Okay, and then another jump to get it centered, because that is not where it belongs. That's where it belongs right there. We'll put that on RTO. There's an airplane just sitting in the middle of the taxiway there. We're going to start taxiing, and if he doesn't move, I'm going to taxi right through him. Because for all the things that they've done really, really well with this new flight sim, and they've done some great stuff, but AI traffic, still a nightmare, people. Still a nightmare. Anyway, alright, brakes off. There we go. Just get a little thrust in there. Start the taxi, and while we're taxiing, I'm going to give you your taxi and departure briefings. It looks like he's starting to move really, really slow. Alright, taxi and departure briefing, please. Alrighty, let's take a quick look at our taxi briefing here. I'm going to pull up the Navigraph chart. Real quick, the ATIS is on 135.1, Nashville clearance on 26.05, and ground is on 21.9, and then the tower on 18.6, and then once we're out of here, we're headed to the northeast. Not really, we're actually kind of headed almost due north. But either way, this will be one of our departure frequencies. They would tell us from the tower which one to go to. You can see where we're at here on the ground. We're going to be taking runway 31 based on the wind, so it's going to be a pretty straightforward taxi. We're just going to follow the apron all the way around here to Tango 4 and bring that on to Lima, and we'll bang a left here. These are hold short points, something we need to keep in mind. They're ILS hold short points. We'll probably just cross right over them, not too worried about it. But then we're going to scoot all the way down here to Lima 8 so that we can hold short of runway 31 and prepare for our departure. With that in mind, let's take a look at our departure today. So again, based on the weather and the runway we're going to be taking, we're going to go with the Krista 3 departure. That wasn't our original plan. If I overlay this on our route here, you can see why this makes the most sense. As a matter of fact, we're supposed to be going to, well, it says Krista 3 now anyway, so I guess it changed for us. So fantastic. So it's going to be the Krista 3 departure for us today. Again, Nashville departures on 19.35 for this one, airport elevation 599. We know the transition altitude in the United States is 18,000 feet. But this is pretty straightforward. It's vectors on the way out. This is the runway we're taking here. So heading 316. It's going to be vectors. Once we get airborne, we're ready to go. We'll just switch vectors with Sarah here. We'll bang a right, swing around to Sarah, onto Krista, and then we'll transition out on Olsey. And I don't think there's really much else we need to concern ourselves with here. It's all pretty straightforward. Yeah, so climb heading 316 or assigned ATC heading. And then you get the routing. It's radar vectors and then to Sarah. So basically exactly what I just said, so there's no reason for me to read that. And that's going to take care of both our departure, our taxi and departure briefings. I don't know about you, but I'd say that road doesn't look like it's in the right spot. Could be wrong, but pretty sure it's not in the right spot. Here's our hold short point, runway 31 right here. We're gonna, this is hands down been the bumpiest taxiway I think I've ever been on. It's like all over the place. Let's go ahead and take care of our before takeoff checklist. Turn track IR off for just a second here. There we go. Before takeoff checklist, above the line, master caution light is off. Recall has been checked. Flight controls sort of checked. You can change that. I can go in here and I can change it inside here to show the flight controls. I'm just not going to do it right now. Flaps are set to flaps 5. There we go. Trim is set to around 7.07. Flight directors are on, and takeoff briefing has been completed, sort of. So we did the departure briefing. So the takeoff briefing is typically something like, you know, we're going to accelerate. Accelerate to 60% N1. We'll engage the toga mode. As we're rolling down the runway center line, I'll maintain control of the aircraft. If there's any alarms or serious warnings prior to V1, we'll immediately abort the takeoff. If they're after V1, we'll continue with the takeoff and we'll assess after departure, things like that. Some of you who watch this are real-world pilots, commercial pilots, so you know, if you want to maybe provide a standard takeoff briefing that we could go through during each of our flights, I'd be more than happy to do that. So let me know. Takeoff clearance is obtained. Strobe lights are on. Wing lights are on. Landing lights, we'll pop those on now. It's a little early. We'll turn taxi lights off. Runway turn-off lights on. The auto throttle needs to be armed, otherwise it doesn't work. Engine start switches need to go to continuous. I left that ignition on, that was my bad, but I think it's got to be on anyway while the engine switches are to continuous. Transponders on TARA, that's this guy down here. We already did that. I did that while I was taxiing out. So we're good to go there, and that means we're ready to take off. So let's get back in the right position here. And a little jump from track IR. There it is. Let's hope there aren't any aircraft on the runway this time like there was in our takeoff last time. Let's get her, try and get her moving a little quicker. So we're going up a little hill here. That was one of the things I said I really do like about, boy, that traffic looks weird, doesn't it? Anyway, one of the things I do like about this, like we're going up a little hill there, it takes a little more thrust to get up the hill, and I like the way they do that. I like the way they have that set up. Again, lots of great things about this flight, about this flight sim. Few things that could probably use some work, like AI traffic, as usual. Alright, I think we're good to go here. We have not armed the LNAV and the VNAV. I saw a comment about that on a different video where somebody thought that was hilarious because I do it after the fact a lot of times. So there's LNAV, VNAV. Let's go to 60%. Stabilize. Toga. That is a heavy crosswind. Airspeed's alive. Check.
V1. Rotate.
Come on, that thing drifted hard, didn't it? Woo! You do not want to dip the wings like that. See how far I had to dip the wings just to get back on track there? That was crazy. I'd say we were pretty close on our trim. So right now I'm just following this flight director, guys. Just following those magenta crosshairs as best I can. I don't get too stressed out about the rate of climb. Woo! There's a little extra throttle. Because it increases and decreases quite a bit, actually. I suspect it doesn't do, like, see, it's going down right now, but sometimes as soon as you start getting on it, like, see, now it wants you to go higher. Or maybe I just overshot it, I don't know. Let's go to flaps 2 here. Obviously the autopilot is much better at following it. Flaps 1. Now if we jump down here real quick, we can go to the legs page. Remember what I said, we can just highlight, put it there, execute, and now it gives us a direct line, so I can just put on the autopilot. Get the flaps all the way up. That's the easy way to do it, of course. Track IR coming off. There we go. Jump back over here. Let's take care of our after takeoff checklist. Positive rate of climb and gear came up. It's kind of weird the way this checklist is set up. Let me just go through it as a flow. We need to lock the gear handle. That goes to the center. RTO, or the auto brakes, need to go to the off position. The flaps are up. Obviously our spoilers were not deployed during takeoff. Engine start switches can go to off. Engine mode can go to both. Once we reach 10,000 feet, the landing lights are going to come off. Now let's see if there's anything on here. Autopilot nav modes, LNAV, VNAV are both activated. MCP altitude is set as required, 38,000 feet or flight level 380. The VNAV is engaged. We already talked about 10,000 feet. And then transition altitude, so at 18,000 feet is transition altitude will go to standard, which is 29er and 9er 2. And that takes care of our after takeoff checklist. And that means you know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for some of that obligatory elevator music.
You can see the riding on the pavement. Young kids, they're growing up in basements. Online, a whole new generation. I'ma make mine, so you better go take it. Always, they need a new replacement. Decentralized, can't contain it. We're changing lives, yeah, upgrading. Call it suicide of the older generation.
What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong.
Alrighty, folks, we're going to be coming up on our top of descent here pretty soon. We're 51 nautical miles out. So let's start with the basics. We're going to need to go down ultimately to 2,200 feet. Now, I talked about this in the last video. While I'm scrolling this wheel here, I'll mention it again. There's really three different ways of approaching this. Number one would be if we're using ATC, we let them give us the assigned altitude. I saw a comment somewhere that said, when is Asobo, which is the Microsoft I don't know, group or whatever that makes this flight sim, when are they going to fix the ATC so that it doesn't keep you at 30,000 feet until like 5 miles before the runway? So once again, we have an ATC problem. That's why we're not using it. So that would be one option, would be ATC assigning you an altitude, right? So ATC says descend and maintain 9,000 feet. So we'd set it to 9,000 whatever, and we're good to go, right? Option number two is to look at our arrival briefing, which we've already done. And okay, brain just went blank. Look at our arrival briefing and then use that to determine our minimum altitudes, minimum and maximum altitudes. And that's always a great option as well. The catch to that, of course, is that you have to constantly be on it. So you need to be looking at your you know, your display here, your PFD. This is not a PFD, this is a MFD, right? Why is my brain... Okay, my brain's not functioning today, so here's the deal. I'm going to use more generic terms. You need to look at your map thingy over here, and when you're coming up to, say, Veek, if your maximum or minimum altitude was 10,000 feet, then you set this to 10,000 feet. And then from Veek to Boone, if your minimum altitude at Boone is 8,000 feet, once you cross Veek, then you change it to 8,000 feet, and so on. That's a good. That's the right way to do it, and that's what you'd be doing with ATC anyway. We just don't have time for that. I don't want to mess with it, so we're going to do it the easiest way, which is to set it to what's going to ultimately be our glide slope intercept altitude. Now, one problem I have noticed with this PMD, there's a hiccup, with this PMDG 737 is, especially when it's coming up at 10,000 feet, it loses track of the VNAV a bit. So what I mean by that is when you're coming up on the 10,000 foot mark, the aircraft has to slow down, right? Because you can't be above 250 knots at 10,000 feet or below. And so as the aircraft's slowing down, obviously the descent rate reduces. But for some reason in this aircraft, it continues to descend at about 1,000 feet per minute. And so what ends up happening is the flight computer has calculated that it's going to be staying at 10,000 feet or around 10,000 feet for a longer period while it slows down. But because it continues to descend at 1,000 feet per minute, you end up below the glide path or below the descent path. If that doesn't make any sense, I'll try to remember to come on as we're descending below 10,000 feet and show you what I'm talking about, and it'll make more sense then. Alright, that's enough jibber jabber. I don't know, I like lost my mind on doing this video. So anyway, descent checklist, speed's going to be monitored, transition altitude we're going to set. We could listen to the localizer real quick, couldn't hurt. So let's, or not the localizer, so you see what I'm talking about, right? 135.4 is the ATIS. So let's scroll this up. Any day now. Let's listen to the ATIS real quick and just make sure. Now you should be writing this down when you listen, if you're the one flying.
Airport information, India 1400 Zulu. Wind 224 at 11. Visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature 16. Dew point 10. Altimeter 29.97. ILS runway 27 right, visual runway 27 left, ILS runway 28 center, ILS runway 28 right, and ILS runway 28 left in use. Landing and departing run.
Okay, that's enough for me. So yeah, it's going to be 224 at 11, 299.7. So when we go below 18,000 feet, we're going to want to set our altimeter 299.7, and that wind's going to be good for our planned runway. And what else? We selected the destination runway. So let's just, never hurts to go in here, departure arrival, right? So it should show us what's selected. There you go, ILS 28 right. And then you gotta go way down here. Or did I pass it? Probably because I cut out a big part of the arrival, it got rid of that. So anyway, you can always, verify. Oh my goodness, people, I don't know what I'm doing here. You can always verify by going into your departure arrival, make sure that you have the proper runway selected, or you can change it if you need to. Obviously we're not going to change it here, so we're good on that. You can also go to your legs page, make sure your altitudes are set where they need to be. You'll see in our approach briefing coming up here shortly that at Mott we need to be at or above 9,000, at Ricky 8,000, and they're all actually hard altitudes. One way you can change this is you can say, okay, we don't want to be at or above 9,000 at Mott, we want to be at 9,000, right? So you need to put the slash first and then 9,000. The slash is for this here. See if it lets me. There we go. Execute, right? So the reason I do that is because I don't actually want it at or above at Mott. I want it at 9,000, right? Because there's hard altitudes in here. So for example, Wilt, that's going to be our glide slope intercept. That's a hard altitude, hands down. So we definitely want that one to be spot on. But here, and we do have, I'm just glancing over at the chart, we have 5.7 miles between, or 5.6 it shows on here, between Atame and Wilt, but only 3.1 between Wavy and Atame. So if this says 5,000 at or above, if it's still at 6,000 here, it's not going to make 4,000 here. You get what I'm saying? So it's not a bad idea to change a couple of these to hard altitudes. They don't all have to be. But if I make that a hard altitude, then it's gonna make itself get to 5,000 feet at Wavy, which means I only need to go down 1,000 feet to make this here. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Let's do our initial reference page real quick. We've got tons of runway, like tons of runway, and we're flying southwest, so we're gonna rocket ship this sucker in here. We're gonna do flaps 15, 136. And that'll probably come down to 135 by the time we land. And after all of my stumbling and bumbling and jaw jacking, here we are. We're going to be on the approach before you know it. So I'm going to break away for the moment, and I'll see you back here shortly. Alright then, taking a look at our approach briefing, let's start with our information up top here. ATIS on 35.4, approach on 19.0. Tower is going to be whichever one of these approach puts us on. And then, of course, if you're on 9 left or 27 right, then it's on this one here. Or this one here for 10 right, 28 left. That's a lot of different tower frequencies. You got ground main, ground north, ground south. Again, we're gonna be transferred to all of those anyway. So if we're coming in Chicago approach on 19.0, and then they're gonna tell us which one of these frequencies to go to, and then whichever one of these we're on is gonna tell us which one of these frequencies to go to, most likely. So I think we'd be good to go there. Not too worried about it. Localizer frequency is gonna be 111.1 with a final approach course of 273 degrees. Now my brain just went blank again. Wilt is our missed approach point. You can see that down here as well. Move that down just a little bit for you. Wilt is not our missed approach point. Wilt is our glide slope intercept point, which I have no idea why I couldn't get that right. But anyway, moving on. Airport elevation 680 feet, touchdown zone elevation 651 feet. Minimum safe altitude in the area is 3,400 feet. That's this guy right here. If we have a missed approach, we're going to climb to 1,100 feet, then make a climbing left turn to 4,000 feet on heading 215, and inbound to the DPA VOR 082 degree radial to the DPA VOR and hold. That's what this looks like right here. So that's this little inset here. That's the DPA VOR. So you climb to 1,100 feet, then you make a left turn, and then you're going to intercept that 082 degree radial inbound to, I don't know if you hear that noise, but that's my toddler son in the room above me dragging a chair across the floor. It's really loud. Anyway, you guys get the gist of that, right? Pretty straightforward. Transition level, flight level 180, as always in this area. We're not, well, we have to go from the Vogler RNAV 1, GPS required, aircraft not GPS equipped, radar required for procedure entry, blah blah blah. We're good on all of that. So we're coming in out here at Vogler, then to Mott, then to Bluto. So at Mott we would be 9,000. Oh, I missed Rick V in there. So Rick V is 8,000, Bluto's 7, Rossi is 6, Wavy's 5, Atomy is 4, and then down to 2,200 at Wilt, and then we should have glide slope intercept from there. The missed approach point, there's 2 of them here. So these are different based on the category of the approach. If I'm not mistaken, this is a Cat 2. You know what? I'm not even going to try right now because I'm not 100% certain. Talk about my brain just going blank here. Enough of this nonsense. One of these is going to be our missed approach point, obviously, if we can't see the runway by the time we get down here. I didn't see a missed approach altitude, though. Where is our minimums altitude? Usually that's up here, right? I just saw it, yeah. So Cat 1, 2, 3 ILS refer to minimums. So Cat 3, there are no minimums. That's an auto land. Cat 2, the minimums are radar altitude of 97 feet or decision altitude, or this is MSA is 100 feet. My brain is not working right now. Or a Cat 1 is 200 feet, right? So I don't know why I couldn't get my brain to work on that. So if we're flying a Cat 2, we can go all the way down to 97 feet radar altitude. If we're flying only a Cat 1, we can go down to 200 feet. And if you're flying a Cat 3, that's an auto land. I don't think it's going to be a Cat 3. If the glide slope is out, it's a localizer only, then you can go down to 469 feet. Again, this is AGL, 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 blah blah blah. You guys get the point, right? Runway visual range for a Cat 3 is 600. Is that 600 feet or meters? I think it's 600 meters. Somebody let me know in the comments. I can't remember. Is that 600 feet or 600 meters? Same thing for this. Runway visual range of 12. Is that 1,200 meters or 1,200 feet? I think it's, I don't know. It's feet or meters. Anyway, you get the gist of it. This has been probably the worst approach brief that I've ever given. So I'm going to stop right here and let's just go fly the thing and try not to crash an airplane. How's that sound? Alrighty folks, we're going to be on mod here before you know it and be working our way onto the approach, but I jumped on just a skosh early because I want to show you what I'm talking about. So right now it's not doing it too bad. Let me just flip on these landing lights real quick. There we go. It's not doing it too bad right now, but we'll see. And now it's going to make me a liar. So normally what's happening here at this transition point from our cruise speed or our descent speed down to the maximum speed allowed, which I've got it set to 240, so at 10,000 or below it's going to be at 240 knots. Normally what happens is it keeps descending here, and so we end up well below the descent path. Right now it's not doing that, which is nice. Other than the fact that it made me a bit of a liar, it's kind of nice. So, but either way, we're going to be coming up on our approach here pretty soon. We've already taken care of our approach briefing. I do have the frequency in there. I haven't set the course yet, so I'm going to take care of that right now. Whoops, wrong button. There we go. So the course, final approach course is 273 degrees. So let's crank this down here. There we go, 273 degrees. So we're just floating here right at about 10,000, but it's actually, right now it says we're on our proper performance, sort of. Because you can see now we're going above the path. So I'm waiting to see if this switches. Yep, there. Just see it just switched to VNAV speed. Once you get to a certain point, it switches to VNAV speed. So the easiest way to deal with that, if you're unfamiliar, is just go ahead and put some drag out there. Because what it's going to do, this is like flight change mode in other aircraft, right? So basically it's going to descend at a rate necessary to maintain 240 knots. So by putting a little drag out, it actually starts to descend a little quicker. So you see that by putting drag out there, if you look here, you can see that that number's coming back down because we're coming back onto the glide path or the descent path. I don't know why the master caution keeps popping on, but it does. And so then what you'll see is this will turn back to, there you go, VNAV path right there. And so we'll just let her come back on the path, bring the speed brakes out. Now let's go ahead and we should be pretty close to being able to pick up that localizer. Really it should be at around Bluto. That's our radar or our they're all radar fixed. What am I talking about? Anyway, Bluto for sure, but we could probably pick it up out here. So we're gonna go ahead and click it on, and there you go, it grabbed it right away. So we're on the localizer now, which is nice because we know it's gonna fly that. And so now we can just hit the approach. It shouldn't grab the glide slope way out here. It shouldn't grab it till a little past Bluto, but there again, it grabbed it anyway. Sorry, coughing in your face there. Y'all are used to that by now, right? Anyway, so you can see we're still on single channel, but I do have the ILS programmed into both radios. I did not program in the DPA VOR yet. I need to do that real quick. That's 108.4. So we want that as our backup on the nav. 108.4. We're going to leave that there. And this is in case we have to do a missed approach. 108.4. There we go. That's fantastic. Everything else looks good except the speed. I don't know why it changed speed on its own, but I'm going to go ahead and click the, or not. It should go. I don't know why it's got us controlling the speed, to be honest with you. That's kind of weird. Oh, look. Approach and everything went away. Why? What? You see that? Okay, something just went wonky here. It won't LNAV, it won't VNAV, it won't speed intervene, it won't lock the VOR, it won't do anything. Well, I guess we're going to be hand flying this approach, folks. It says it's, I don't know, this is kind of weird. Like I can't get VNAV. Right now we're descending at the right rate for our current speed. But yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Well, we'll just keep that where it's at for just a moment. Let's go ahead and take care of our approach checklist. The approach is selected and briefed. The nav radios are set, even though it's Not doing anything for some reason. Approach intercept speed. Yeah, we're going to have to slow down here pretty soon. We'll take care of that shortly. Auto brake. We're not going to need any auto brake. Auto spoilers need to be armed, although we may need to use those to slow ourselves down here shortly. We're going to find out. What else? These need to be on continuous. And let's get this view back where it belongs, because we're going to need track IR here shortly. And that's about it. So we are landing flaps 15. Track IR coming on. Little jump here. There we go. Let me center that back up properly. Okay, so flaps 15 and 136. So this is interesting. Let's go ahead and start bringing that speed way down and see what happens here, because we're definitely way too fast. So let's just bring our speed down to 180 and see what happens. See if it's, I mean, it appears to be tracking on the VNAV and the LNAV. Yeah, we're gonna need spoilers for sure. So spoilers coming out. And it, see, like on here it shows VOR and glide slope, but it's not lit up over here. Let's put the second channel on. It seems to be flying it. So that's interesting. Maybe there's a failure in the lights or something. I don't know. That's strange. Oh, I did want to mention, I don't know if I said it already, but the fuel, you remember I added 3,000 extra. Look at that. We're at 3,000 right now. Yeah. So I don't trust the fuel calculations. We got spoilers all the way out. Let's go ahead and throw a setting of flaps out there. Should help slow us down a little bit more. The idea here is to bleed off all this speed now. But yeah, it won't let me change to FMC speed or anything, which is really strange. Anyway, 136 plus 5 is what? 141. So let's just bring this all the way to 141. Just gonna have to watch our flaps. There's our marker. It is definitely tracking on the ILS, so really strange that it did that. We are slow enough we can drop the gear now. That's gonna help slow us down more as well. And we're only, remember, we're only going to flaps 15, so we're gonna be coming in pretty quick anyway. Yeah, that threw me for a loop, all of that going on. So that's flaps 5 there. We're gonna get the flaps out like right before landing. So we're definitely flying classic Southwest style of flying, right? Southwest pilot probably watching this. You're out of your mind. Okay, you can see we're going to flaps 10 right now. We got one more flap setting after this. Set the spoilers to auto arm. Flaps 15. Let's auto throttle off. What? No, it's not. That's malarkey right there. Okay. Whoa! What are you nose diving for? Look at that. Wow. That was just like as soon as I took control, it just dove for the ground. And I can't seem to get it trimmed up. Ooh, that's gonna be an ugly landing.
50. 30. 10.
Minus 291 feet per minute. I'd say that's pretty good considering everything just went all bonkers on me there at the end, huh? There's an A380. Was it? Yep. Oof. Got all choppy in here and everything. Wow, that was, let's call it interesting. Like, everything just sort of went to a mess right there. Okay, let's get off the runway. Get the flaps up. Well, let's get off the runway, but not off the taxiway. Taxi light on, these guys off. See, that click spot is so small for that. Okay, let's switch this guy over so I can see where I'm going here. Yeah, we need to go this way, right? Yeah. I'm sorry it's so choppy, guys. It's got to be the video recording. I've got just about everything else turned off on the computer, and for some reason it just wants to be choppy. Either way, let's go ahead and start bringing her in. I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and get this in a parking space here. That's the APU coming on, and then once I get it parked, we'll come back on here and we'll take care of shutting everything down. See you shortly. Alrighty, well, it definitely got super choppy coming in here. We did our after landing checklist on the move there. Speed brake lever up, flaps up, probe heat we didn't turn off. Still not sure why the probe heat goes off. Man, everything's acting wonky right now. I didn't want to jump up here. Probe heat can go off, window heat can go off. We are on the APU. Let's switch the gens over to that. Now the pack should cut out. Or not, because the APU bleed isn't on. The pack should have cut out. Oh, because I got the engines running still and I'm a doofus. Okay, now we're on the APU, so now we can cut the engines out if I can see them. Oh, it's so choppy though, isn't it? I have no idea why. It's got to just be the amount of traffic here or something. I'll probably have to reduce the amount of traffic that I allow into the sim. So I do apologize for that, but anyway, the electrical hydraulic pumps can go off. The bleed air can go off. My brain still not functioning properly. We turn all. Actually, we'll leave those on for now. Those two stay on. We got power on the aircraft, so that one stays on. Those two go off. These can go off. Should have done this while we were taxiing, but that's all right. It was so choppy I couldn't hardly see anyway. And then the shutdown procedure. So the brakes are on, start levers are cut off, ground power needs to come on, and so in order to do that, you got to hop down to your FMC here, go to your menu. Oh my goodness, like everything is just being so slow right now. Okay, so ground services. So the best way to do it, so we want to make sure this is jetway first, then request the cart. Oh, external pit power GPU cart. Oh, you gotta put the chocks in. Duh. Now request the cart. And then let's make sure the door is open as well, because I think the jetway doesn't like to connect unless the door is open. So you could also go in here and you could request, we don't need any of those. One more. All of these guys. Right? Zero this out. Zero this out, and then they're going to unload it. And same thing with the packs. Oh, let's request this now. There we go. It'd be nice if that lit up, like whichever one you know, like this is yellow, right? So, you know, like it should be yellow for release or something. I don't know. But anyway, where's my packs? We'll put this to 0 as well. They're all getting off. Nobody's staying. They can start deplaning there. There we go. What else? Doors and stairs taken care of. Fuel pumps can go off at this point. Ground power is here, right? Yep. So ground power on, which means APU can go off. No, really off. There we go. And then we turn this guy off. Now we're not burning fuel anymore. That works nice. That means that can come off. Strobe can stay on steady. Logo light doesn't need to be on. It's daytime. What else we got here? Window heat, probe heat are already off. Electric hydraulics are off. The bleeds are all off. Isolation valve, we'll leave that on auto. That's fine. Recirc fan is on auto as well. External lighting's good. We're not going to turn the battery off. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Again, I do apologize. It got really choppy when I came in here. It's kind of crazy. And the bird went wonky, didn't it? The autopilot function's not lighting up. I'm going to have to check the maintenance on this thing. It's all kinds of crazy. Oh, and the jetway's not connecting properly either. So that's always fun. But apparently the passengers are deboarding, so they're probably just jumping off. Good times. But I did enjoy this flight. I hope you guys did too. I'm loving that I'm getting back into this. Love the support that I'm getting from all of you. I'm so very grateful for it. And I appreciate the suggestion for this flight. So that means y'all need to suggest the next flight. I'm going to probably post this video. So this is actually just the day after the last video that I posted. but then I've got to work for the next like 5 days. So you may not see one for another week or so, but as soon as the HD finishes rendering on this video, I'm going to go ahead and post it. So that should give you several days to come up with some suggestions for where we're going from here. Now I'm open to any suggestion, but I would prefer not to have flights that are going to take me 7 or 8 hours or something crazy like that. So let's try not to go too far, but we can hop our way wherever you want to go. So a short flight from Chicago, something in the 400 to 500 nautical mile range is best. That gives me plenty of time to do everything that I need to do to make sure that the videos is as informative as possible, and at the same time I don't feel like I'm trying to cram everything in really tight. So 400 to 500 nautical miles is best. So think about where you want me to go next, and then whatever gets the most thumbs up or likes or whatever from your suggestions, that's where we'll go, and then we'll carry on from there. And that's it. Oh yeah, I didn't say this in the last video. Don't forget to like the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the little bell, all of that good stuff, so that you can be regularly updated. I do hope to do some live streams as well. However, I just want to say up front that I only have very specific days where I can do that, and it's going to be probably Wednesday or Thursday. But I am flexible, at least with Wednesday I'm pretty flexible with the time. So go ahead and feel free to drop down in the comments and let me know what times for East Coast of the United States, what times work best for you, and I try to accommodate as much as I can when I do some live streams in the hopefully not too distant future. But again, the idea here is to try and stay consistent without getting to the point where I'm so crushed with everything else going on that I have to step away from this for a long period of time again. So that's going to wrap it up, folks. That's it. That's all. No more. Until next time, as always, keep the blue side up unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all, and have a fantastic day.